show. I have a special guest with me. Is my father, Dr. Jerry Zayid. Welcome. I'm so honored to have you here.
Thank you.
And today we wanted to introduce him and his role in the community. I know that my father is a practicing podiatrist, formerly known as Dr. Jerry Zaid, with over 40 years of experience in the field. In addition to practicing medicine, he's also a medical home health care owner in our community. I believe started in 2006, well over 17 years being in the community too as well, but specializes in caring for many different ages in his practice and also in the home health care field. So today I just want to introduce him and learn about his role in the community, a little education and some background. So the mic is yours.
Thank you, Chris. Happy to be here today. Well, the journey started when my parents moved us out to Commerce in 1960. And then I went to college at the University of Detroit and earned my bachelor's and master's degree, and then went to Chicago to the Illinois College of Podiatric Medicine and did a residency in Detroit. And we practiced in many offices at that time, but now we have are concentrating our efforts in the Commerce area, and we're happy to be in the community. We're open to see new patients in this office, and Chris and I have also started the home care business in 2006, and we see many geriatric patients with many referrals coming from the hospitals, Huron Valley, Beaumont. We even get them from the University of Michigan and the Cleveland Clinic. So we're very proud of uh, of that, and we try to give the best care to all of our patients.
And I know that it's always been an important forefront of our organization. The purpose and the mission was, and also in your practice, what I've learned from you is that how important it is to have be involved in the community and to
Sure.
serve people. And that was, you don't have to go to school for that. That's just, I think when you are out there being involved in your industry, is that word of mouth referrals was always really important. I remember for you, you laughed when we first had a website, but now look at where what we have and how important that the web is. And but you built your practice also was your word of mouth and clients coming to you and patients coming to you because you were just a great doctor. And so the role of a podiatrist is what we wanted to talk about, our first question. And what conditions typically does a podiatrist treat?
Well, we treat the foot and ankle medically and surgically, and there's all type of problems that we deal with. We deal with problems with the skin, warts, and we treat if you have tinea pedis, which is a fungus in the foot. We treat ingrown toenails. We do a lot of problems, bony problems that arise, but a lot of them are hereditary, like bunion surgery and surgery for hammer toes and calluses. And we dispense people with orthotics for different problems with the foot, like heel pain, or sometimes you've heard of plantar fasciitis. And so there's many different problems that we see every day.
And so with elderly, zero in on that in the foot care, why is it important for the aging population to care for their feet?
Well, number one, uh, we want people to be able to realize that when we get older, you may develop some problems, say like diabetes or poor circulation. So obviously, that's very important when it comes to the foot because as these diseases happen, sometimes you can run into some problems. As you know, you can develop an infection from an ingrown toenail or from different reasons. You might form an ulcer on your foot, which can lead to problems down the line. I mean, it can even lead to an amputation sometimes. So that's why you got to be very careful in how you care for your feet.
Now it's winter and it's getting cold outside, and a lot of us complain, and elderly especially, with the clients that we see too in the community, a lot of different medical conditions start to arise during the winter time. What can uh, someone prevent, an injury, for example, during the winter time?
Well, don't walk on ice, right? There's well, we're all always concerned about elderly people falling because that usually causes them to break a bone or break a hip and end up going to the hospital. So naturally, you have to watch where you're walking, make sure that the furniture is in the right area in the house and the carpeting is laid out so you don't trip over them. And you make sure that if you have any problems with your foot that you get taken care of because that alternates your gait, which can cause problems.
Yeah, so home modification is really important
Sure.
because it's as you're walking, whatever's in front of you or you're gonna be encounter could be a trip hazard. So and also if your parents are a fall risk, it's really important to zero in on that if they're complaining about their feet, because the last thing you want to do probably, right, is see your clients living alone and then they're a fall risk and they're back in the hospital. Now, what happens to toenails and as we age? I know that there's different type of conditions with toenails, and I've gone, since I was 9 years old,
Yeah.
I had the luxury to be able to see all the different things that go on with the toenail, and more than I've ever thought. And so like, can you explain to us
Yeah.
what that looks like and what people experience?
That's I'll tell you what, Chris, it's amazing. I find that the elderly people that come to the office, I mean, it's amazing. A lot of them really enjoy coming every 2 months to get their nails cut because sometimes, their nails are thick from fungus or, you know, other reason, but they're unable to bend down and cut their nails. And, luckily, if you got thick fungus nails, Medicare will cover that for them every 2 months. And what's so funny is this is more important to them than probably getting their hair done. I mean, I have times where it could be a snowstorm outside or the weather's bad and they still show up because that appointment seems to be very important for them.
Yeah, and there's a special name for that, right? It's called onychogryphosis.
Well, yeah, onychomycosis is the fungus. Gryphosis means it's a thick nail.
Okay, so
Yeah,
mycosis and
yeah,
so the thickness of the nail, and so that's easily treated by
sure.
how would you treat that?
Yeah, we trim the nails and we have a Dremel drill and we file them down and we make them very presentable for them.
Yeah,
They can be the topical medication is kind of hard to treat because um, the nail fungus actually occurs where the nail cells are that produce the nail. So it's hard to get to that. There are oral medications people can take, but a lot of times the elderly are on a lot of medications and it's sometimes you might want, you know,
side effects.
weigh the risk and benefit on that, so and it's only a 70-75% success rate with the oral medications for fungus nails anyway. So but a younger person you can understand, if you're young and you've got fungus toenails, you might want to give that medicine a try and hopefully get that cleared up.
Yeah, and then I noticed that also ingrown toenails is something as we age you see,
Yeah.
and is that an age thing or it can be
Oh,
any age?
no, any age. You can even have young infants with ingrown toenails, and a lot of times, I mean, it could be hereditary, it could be the way you cut your nails or certain pressures on the nail. And it's good to have those taken care of because a lot of times they become infected. And especially if you have poor circulation or are diabetic, you can run into some serious problems. So it has to be addressed as soon as you have that problem and be advisable. You know,
Can you permanently get rid of an ingrown
we
toenail?
can, yeah, we can remove an ingrown toenail permanently so it doesn't come back. Sometimes if patient wants the whole nail removed, we can do that too, and do a permanent procedure where the nail doesn't come back. It's a very successful procedure.
Yeah, and I've experienced, I've seen it from your stories and going to work with you as a kid.
Yeah,
Corns and calluses. Let's talk about that.
corns
Like,
and calluses.
yep, corns and calluses. What causes corns and what causes calluses?
Well, actually, it's from pressure. The corn's usually like on top of the toe, or if you have a tight shoe and the shoe is rubbing on the toe, the skin wants to protect itself, and it does that by forming a corn. Same thing with the callus on the bottom of the foot. If you're exerting a lot of pressures on the bottom of your foot, sometimes when you're older, you lose some of the fat padding on your foot, so then the bone is putting more pressure on the ground, and the skin wants to protect itself, and it forms a callus. So we people will come in with that, and we do different treatments for that. We try to scrape them off. Sometimes if they're inflamed and they're really sore, they'll have like a bursitis underneath the lesion, and we might inject a little
Mhm.
cortisone anesthetic in there to give them some relief from the bursitis.
What? How does a bursitis occur?
It's come from excess rubbing, forms a bursa sac, which gets
Yeah.
inflamed
Okay.
underneath the skin.
Yeah. So rubbing and like friction
Yeah,
that
yeah.
causes that to happen. Now, let's also discuss numbing of the feet. I
Yeah.
know that elderly get it. Different age groups can get it. Depending on the medical conditions like diabetes. But what causes foot numbness in the
Well,
elderly?
yeah, it could be a lot of different reasons. People come in with that all the time. It could be from the, like you mentioned, the diabetes. Sometimes they might have a problem in their back, which is impinging on the nerve, causing neuropathy that way. Or sometimes you might even want to check some of the medications you take, see if you're having some kind of side effect or something going on.
Is it curable though? When you have numbness
Well,
conditions?
yeah, let's put it this way. I mean, if you're diabetic and you control your sugar, and you hopefully you do it at an early time, you can lessen the effects.
Yeah.
You know.
Having a good relationship with a neurologist, is that also important?
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Yep, in combination. And you also do work with other
Y-
specialists.
Yeah, a lot of times, yeah, because a lot of times there are some nerve conditions in the foot, like for example, a Morton's neuroma, and that's a nerve that's in between the metatarsal bones. That's treatable in the office. We either use a cortisone injection in there to relieve the pain because the nerve is in between two bones, and the two bones, if you wear a tight shoe, they press against the nerve and they cause it to shoot up the toes. There's alcohol sclerosing agents where you can just actually destroy the nerve in that area so that you don't have those tingling sensation effects with that too locally with the foot. But some problems we have to refer out because of it's a medical condition like the diabetes, or if you're having a back problem,
Yeah.
you'd have to address it with the right professionals.
And so is you probably mentioned this already, kind of, but is it preventable? Can you prevent numbness, or sometimes is it part of like the genes and
Well, I
genetics?
mean, if it's a back problem and they go in there and take care of the back
Yeah.
so that there's no impinging on the nerve, it probably would help them. Yeah.
Yep. And then the type of shoes they wear too, as well. Maybe it
Sure.
can cause,
Yeah.
you said that the nerves that they're getting impinged,
Right.
and it causes the pain too. And so now, why is foot care so important with all the disabilities that that people have? What should we someone zero in on if they have a disability? What are the essential things that you would give advice for somebody that they have?
Oh, obviously they need to wear proper foot gear, shoes that are comfortable, preferably that have some support in the arch area, that are wide in the toe box area and has a proper length, maybe a quarter inch extra for the toes, and so that the shoes fit properly so they can walk. And if you have any addressable problems that are causing your foot to so that you're not walking properly, those have to be addressed.
Yeah, I'm assuming females with heels, that's obviously something where you see a lot as well.
Yeah, we do. Yeah.
And then so the angle of the feet of being on heels is just it's hitting the nerve.
Sometimes I can do that. Yeah.
Yep. And so is there anything, for example, um, while bathing, for example, or any type of hygiene,
Uh,
elderly are is constantly showering and bathing,
yeah.
caregivers are and all that.
Right.
So like, what would you give advice for that?
Okay. Number one, especially if you're diabetic, okay? you lose sensation in your feet, so you're numb, right? So you should always, before you put your feet in the water, touch the temperature of the water with your hand and make sure that it's not scalding hot, because if you put it in there, you're not feeling that and you end up forming blisters and you're going to cause some problems with your feet. So that's an important thing. The other thing, of course, is washing your feet and drying them really well, because the fungus that we talked about earlier with the tinea pedis likes to, and
Grow in warm environments.
exactly, moist environments, and that's where our feet are in our shoes all day long, so avoid being in shoes 14 hours a day. Change your socks, wash your feet every
You like
day.
how I knew that?
Yeah, yeah.
Say, I was listening over the years. Well, thank you so much for sharing your expertise and your passion, your drive. Half of majority of the purpose and the reason why I love what I do is I've seen what you love what you do every single day. So I found a passion in home care and love waking up every day and serving our community. And it is always an honor to be able to have guests like my father share their passion and their story about what they do here in the community. And so if anybody would like to join our show, please don't hesitate to contact us. We'd love to share your story in the community. And again, welcome to another episode with Connecting the Community with Chris. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me today, Chris.